Could 2026 be our last chance to see the Royal Canadian Air Force's iconic Snowbirds aerobatic team, at least for the time being? That is one of the things that's being brought up by some federal conservatives who have taken a look at some information and are mentioning that that could be a case facing us. So let's find out more. Conservative MP for Cowichan and Malahat Langford, Jeff Kibble, joining us on the line to talk more about this. Sir, how you doing?
Very good, thank you. Always glad to be back on Vancouver Island, perhaps the most beautiful part of Canada I've ever been to.
Yeah, and especially when you go away. There's always getting off the plane back in BC, and, for me in Victoria, when I get back after being somewhere else, and you just breathe the air in, and you go, okay, this really is the best place in the world.
Yeah, that's an understatement. You step off the plane, and the air is fresh and sweet, and it's warm and embracing, and we truly live in one of the most beautiful parts of the world. But let's talk about the Snowbirds. MP Fraser Tolmie from Moose Jaw brought this up, and we've been hearing rumors and lots of them. Even the air shows are saying that the Snowbirds are not being booked next year, and that this seems to be their last year flying in Canada. They've been around for over 50 years, and they're an icon. They're legends of Canada, and they represent Canadian unity, Canadian pride, and at a time like this, we need that, and canceling them is just unacceptable.
So let's put together what information is coming out, because it's not like the federal government or the military have come out and said, hey, we're canceling the Snowbirds. But what you're noticing, I guess the first stage there is that there are no bookings into next year, which seems odd. Is that what was the first red flag?
That is, and MP Tolmie's from Moose Jaw, and where the squadron operates. And they're hearing this information, and there is no replacement, and they have been updated and made safe till 2030, and the government has had years to plan replacements, and nothing, and now it seems like this is going to be their last season, and it's really unacceptable that they have not come up with a plan to replace them and keep the team flying and representing all that is great about Canada in the air, across our skies, across the country. Now,
again, no official statement from the federal government, but there was, I think, National Defense Minister David McGuinty getting asked a question by the media a few days ago, and his line seemed to be something along the lines of, the Snowbirds will continue air demonstrations with their Tudor fleet for as long as it's feasible and safe, although he didn't give any kind of timeline for that. Do you feel like they're opening the door to, I don't know, change? I'm trying to get a sense of where this is going and how the government is handling this, and why we haven't heard more from them if this is a serious concern.
Yeah, they were caught off guard when we announced this information, and they simply did not have a plan. So they're giving an illusionary type statement that doesn't really say anything, but they're just saying, well, it's viably safe, and but they're not really giving hard specific facts. But the hard specific fact I'll give you now is they just simply have not come up with a plan to replace them. They've known for many, many years. I mean, a few years back, they did upgrades to keep them flying and airworthy until 2030, and still have not come up with a plan. So, this is unacceptable. And I'll give you a really good example. I don't know if you know George Brewster. He's a 103-year-old fighter pilot, flew in World War II, and I helped arrange just a few days ago. He got in a little private plane and flew up to Comox, landed on the tarmac, and met with the Snowbird teams on the ramp, and while they're training up there, and he got a tour with them, met all the pilots. And this is an iconic Canadian moment where a hero from the past, from World War II, is meeting our current modern-day fighter pilots as they're training. And this is what makes Canada great, and this is what keeps our national pride and our history and our Air Force glowing. So this is the type of thing that we're going to be losing out on because they failed to plan.
And the Tudor jets that we use for the Snowbirds, they were built in the 1960s, right?
They were, yeah.
Yeah, so they're getting a little long on the tooth. So is that part of it? And I guess what you're saying is we should be finding, or should have already started finding, a replacement for these?
Yeah, absolutely. The safety of the pilots and the team is paramount, of course. And there have been extensions made, and right now they're deemed airworthy till 2030. They're safe to fly. It is a dangerous activity, but they're safe to fly till 2030. And the government has known for years, 10 years, they've been making announcements that they're going to discuss looking at or come up with this or come up with that, so it's not a surprise to them, and they failed really to plan, and so they're providing this illusion that they're supporting the military, and here they are, they've completely pooched it on this, and so they come out in question period and they say, well, we're not sure, we don't know, we're going to pause them. The fact is that we need to keep the Snowbirds team flying in its current configuration until they can quickly come up with a viable replacement.
Yeah, the pause you've mentioned, I've heard that as well, that there's this idea that the Snowbirds are not canceled, but maybe paused for a period of 5 years. And I guess, again, I'm asking you, and you're not the government, so I know this is not a fair question for you, but would the idea be that buys them time to find some replacement jet? Is that what you think they might be trying to do?
This is all an illusion. They're saying viable and pause, and we're not sure, and this is important. They need to come up with this and present Canadians with a plan of how they're going to keep the Snowbirds flying and keep these Canadian ambassadors that do work all over the world, by the way, representing Canada around the world. They need to keep them in the air. So they have no plan. They've been caught with their pants down, and we're calling them out. And that's not just this. There's many illusions that the Liberal government is presenting where they're saying, hey, we're doing this or we're doing that. And it turns out it's not true. They announced 20% pay raises for the military, and they're saying, this sounds all great and everybody thinks that's great, but what they don't say is that they're cutting back other benefits, overseas postings and housing benefits, and the pay for 20% is only for the lower ranks, not the higher up ranks. And so the net result of what's actually happening, and I'm getting phone calls all the time, people's pay is going down. Their net pay is going down because of all the benefits they're taking away. They say one thing, they do the opposite. It's an illusion. They say one thing about the Snowbirds, and they say viable and maybe, and we're not sure, but they need to come up with an actual plan that's going to work.
Well, that is the story from Jeff Kibble. He is local Conservative MP representing Cowichan, Malahat, Langford. And are the Snowbirds at risk of going away? Sure sounds like it from the evidence you've got here. Thank you so much for telling us the story.
Thanks very much. Always appreciate talking, and hopefully we can talk again soon about some other very important issues.